Hello, we're making jam today. Things you need for jam are fruit and sugar. Ta-da, that's it. Maybe a bit of lemon juice. So, main rules about making jam are you've got to make sure that the fruit that you're making it with is high in pectin or medium in pectin or low in pectin. You've got to know your pectin. So fruit that is high in pectin, things like gooseberries, black currants, red currants, they're fabulous. They don't need anything added apart from granulated sugar. Slightly lower in pectin are raspberries. Again, they work well. Cherries, a little bit lower in pectin. The notorious one is strawberries. You want to make strawberry jam, good luck, I wouldn't even go there. Complete nightmare to make. So I've got a mixture of frozen raspberries and red currants. So I don't need any extra pectin, don't need jam sugar, just need your bog standard ordinary granulated sugar. Granulated sugar is better than caster sugar because it's got bigger crystals and it dissolves more slowly, giving a clearer jam, whereas with the caster sugar it'll still work but it might be a bit foggy. It'll taste great, whatever. So first things to do, use the same quantity as fruit to sugar. So weigh out your fruit. If you've got 400 grams of fruit, 400 grams of sugar, easy. And then warm your sugar. So put it in a metal container or an oven-proof container, pop it in the oven at about 140 degrees, gas mark 2 or 3, for 5 or 10 minutes. You want your sugar to be warm to hot, but you do not want it melting around the edges or crystallizing. So while that's warming, mine's already warm, you put your fruit, can be still frozen, doesn't matter. If it's fresh, the best kind of fruit is slightly underripe. If you have got only very, very ripe fruit, then try and add half of it, that's underripe. Now put your fruit on a very, very low heat. You want the juices to start flowing. And also if you're using something like gooseberries or black currants or red currants, you want to cook the fruit so that the skins start to break down, because otherwise you're going to have really nice jam, but you can have really thick skins on there. You don't want that, so you need to cook this to break them down. So just put them over a low heat for a few minutes. Right, so you see my fruit has gone really lovely and juicy, and the red currants are now quite squishy. So I'm going to tip in my sugar, and that needs to go back on a very low heat until the sugar has dissolved. At this stage, I don't want to boil that, because all that's going to happen is the sugar will boil and it will crystallize, and then I'll get fruit with just lumps of sugar in there, which is not good. I want jam. So this just needs to go on a low heat, stir it occasionally until the sugar is dissolved. It should take only about 5 minutes. While that's happening, thermometers. If you've got a jam thermometer like this, fantastic. Just stick it on the side of your pan, and then it'll tell you when it gets to setting point, which is 105 degrees. If you've got a thermopen like this, it's great. Again, just keep dipping it in to check on the temperature. 105 degrees is the magic. If you don't have any thermometers, don't worry. You just need a couple of saucers, old saucers, put them in the freezer now. The reason you put them in the freezer is that saucers are reputed to have these little fairies that will shout out when they get cold enough, or when they think that your jam is ready, and they will shout out, yeah, jam's ready. So you need to listen really carefully at the freezer door.
I think you're telling porkies.
No, come on, everybody knows about jam fairies. Seriously, Peter, you never heard of jam fairies?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, jam fairies are a thing. Now what actually happens is that when you've got a saucer that's got really, really cold in the freezer, and you put a spoonful of the jam mixture on it, leave it for a minute or two, and then use a teaspoon just to push it, and if it wrinkles, then you've reached setting point for your jam and it's fine. If it doesn't wrinkle and it still stays quite liquid, you've just got to keep boiling your jam. So other things that you can put in your jam, a little bit of lemon juice. I'm going to add this in just now. Lemon juice does two things. First of all, it checks the acidity of the fruit and takes away some of the sweetness. The other thing that it does is the lemon juice has got a small amount of pectin. So because I'm using red currants, which are high in pectin in this jam, I don't really need the lemon juice, but I just want it in there to adjust the flavour. If I was just using pure raspberries, then what I might do is add in a couple of the pips, because the pips in lemon have more pectin than the juice, and that would just help it set. So this, I can feel just by stirring it that sugar has dissolved, and just move the spoon through. So that's dissolved. Now that needs to transfer over and come to a rolling boil, so it really, just the whole surface of the pan looks like it's molten raspberry juice. You can hear it, and just bring that to a rolling boil. Check your thermometer. If you're making raspberry jam, check after about 10 minutes, and then we'll cut back and have a look at the sauce. Right, my jam, my thermometer says it's up to temperature, so let's test it. I've just got my saucer out of the freezer. It certainly looks a lot thicker than it was. I take a spoonful, just be careful because it does spit. Pop it on there. No, I'm just splashing. And just wait a couple of minutes. Drum roll. All right, while we're waiting to see if this is ready, sterilising your jars. If you make jam, you need to make sure you've got sterilised jars. Old jam jars are fine, put them to the dishwasher, make sure they're really clean. Just before you're actually going to use them, wash them out with really hot water, even boil the kettle and swirl them around with that, and then pop them in the oven for about 5 minutes on, even just on 100 degrees, 150 degrees. And that is to make sure they are completely dry, so everything needs to be dry. The lids need sterilising and drying, and the jam jars need drying. Right, let's have a look at this. Oh, see if we can get a close in. Do a close up. Okay, so I'm not tall enough to see that now.
I'll tell you what.
Push the jam, it wrinkles. Is it wrinkled? Oh,
Yep.
there you can see it. Right, that is perfect. That is set. So that needs to come straight off the heat. Get rid of the thermometer. And there's a little bit of scum on the top of that, so the way of getting rid of that is either just scrape it off at the end, or you can pop a little bit of butter in and then stir it round. So I'm going to have a go at that and show you. So just a small knob of butter, and this usually works like magic. Of course I bet it won't because we're rolling and we're on camera. Okay, so just stir the butter around, and look, as if by magic, all the scum on the top just dissolves. Don't try and put this into the jars at the moment because it's really boiling. Let it cool down, it'll settle, the bubbles will start going down. So leave it about 15-20 minutes and then pop it into the jars, and you've made jam. Ta-da!